looks like we're starting to get a good group here. And so now, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Executive Leaders Alliance. And we have not had a formal meeting for quite some time, so we're really glad to have you all here. My name is Michael Jepson. I'm the president of IPG Commercial Real Estate in Salt Lake City. Today, I'm up in Boise, Idaho, broadcasting from the offices of Babcock Design Group in the new Zions Bank building, beautiful downtown Boise. If you haven't been here, it's a great place to come and hang out. And we do have a great panel today, so in a short amount of time. So I do want to get into that panel as soon as we possibly can. I'll try and make the business portion of the call as quick as possible, but I would be remiss to not thank my team for doing an amazing job as always, putting things together. I am so proud of the people that I work with. They are incredible contributors and they show up every day and are all in. So with that, Tammy Zalet, who runs our offices here, Candace Keller, who has lent her chipper spirit to your phone waves many times. Candace is here. Skylar Smith, who some of you may not know. Skylar is here. He is our new young addition, and he's directing our information services department. And my business partner, Jeremy Jensen, is here as always. Thank you to the IPG team. Also, we do have it's always great to have new blood in this group. We've got several new folks on. We consider you all members of ELA. If you're invited, you're a member because you qualify as an executive in our marketplace or you have an operation in the Utah area. And we try and invite all the C-level folks from all the operating companies in the state, along with those who have operations in our state. So with that, welcome to our first-time guest, Tom Adams from Petzl. Tom, if you're here, hello. We have Ron Fougier from Namar, who should be joining us. I don't know if he's on yet. Ron, we had the pleasure of just working with his company to help them into a new 100,000 square foot facility. They've just recently changed their name to Namar. If you need products for your operations, whether it's janitorial supplies or packaging, Namar is a great company to talk to. They've been around for, I think, over 40, 50 years almost in the market, and just changed their name, getting a brand new facility out of Copper Crossing. So excited to have you, Ron. Chris Snelton with Martin Brower. We've not had the pleasure of having you on a call yet. Chris is here. Rob Cottle, who I mentioned I'm being hosted by Babcock Design in Boise. Rob is here. Rob, thanks for having me here. I am very jealous. I feel like I'm on a broadcast TV station in your office. It's just beautiful. And Rob and his team designed this Zions Bank building up at 8th and Main. I'm a guy from Boise. I know Jerry Pasley spent a good amount of time here in Boise, and this was a hole, literally a hole, like we had the Sugar Hole in Sugar House in Salt Lake. This was the Boise Hole for a very long time, supposed to be haunted. Who knows? I haven't had any ghosts yet, Rob, but very, very glad to be here. We have Hadley Moss from Goal Zero. Goal Zero is a longtime participant in ELA and a presenter at one time. Donald Griffiths is also here, Pioneer Family Brands. And hey, Candace, do you have that list of attendees? I think we were supposed to be showing that while I was doing that. We'll just flash that really quick so you guys can see it if you have it. If not, we'll just keep moving along. So we do have this. If we didn't get the company names on there, you'll see a lot of the same names. I know some of you might have to leave a little early, and that's fine. We've got a lot of great companies represented in the community with folks on a call. And again, the reason that we do Executive Leaders Alliance is to bring you all together and share best practices and best ideas and the challenges that you might all be facing too. This is your peer group, and we are just so privileged to host you and let you guys do most of the talking. So before I shut up and let the real stars of the show take over, we do have, thanks to our panel, we do have some nice swag. Throw up that swag photo. We've got some swag bags to give away. We like to incentivize you guys. I mean, a free sandwich and some swag should hopefully do the trick, right? Did you all get your sandwiches delivered on time? Sandwiches are good. I had the same lunch up here in Boise, and thanks, Tammy, for getting all those delivered. That was quite a bit of logistics. All right, so let's see if we can see that swag bag photo. Otherwise, we'll just go right to the drawing. Poor Candace Keller. She doesn't love technology, So we practiced a couple times and she might be a little nervous. So here's our swag bag. Look at that. We got some Criminelli t-shirts, some yummy treats. And Chris, I got to tell you, I stole a bag of the little minis on my way up to Boise yesterday. Those are delicious. I love those things. Some water bottles from Bullfrog and Specialized. So let's go ahead and draw a name. If you have to be present to win. That's the one rule, right? So Candace, you are up.
I'm up.
Draw the first name. Here we go.
Okay, here we go. Eric Bauman.
Eric, are you here?
I haven't seen Eric join, actually.
Okay, if he's not here, draw quick before he jumps on.
Here we go. Rob Cottle. Rob here.
Cottle. All right. Rob, we got a swag bag.
Okay.
We will be happy to deliver that swag bag for you. I think we got one more, right? Let's draw.
We got one more.
Let's draw for one more.
Tim Hoy.
Tim Hoy. Tim, are you here? You got it. Hey, there's Tim Hoy. Congratulations, guys. And thanks to our participants for helping us put the swag bags together. Let's see. So today we thought we would talk about prosperity during the pandemic. Obviously, I think our emotions are kind of at the limits of their bandwidth. This has been the most challenging time probably for most of us in our lives. And yet, in the midst of this pandemic, we have noticed several of our clients, including ourselves, being very prosperous. And so we started to think about, well, who would we want to hear from that maybe not necessarily a trend of what their companies are, completely different in fact, but all in their own way experiencing some prosperity. So we got together and started making some phone calls. We've been working on Specialized Bicycles for years to get them on the call, and we have them today. I'm so excited to have them on, and other great guests. We're going to get right into it with we're going to show a little video of our presenters. So let's get started with our first one. Let's see if this starts to make your mouth water a little bit more after those lunches.
Introducing Charcuterie Artisans. Bringing together two of the world's best artisan charcuterie producers, we're dedicated to enriching lives through charcuterie. Daniele, a third-generation maker of fine Italian meats, has its roots with the Dukovic family, Croatian refugees who found asylum in Italy before making their way to America. The family has been making exceptional prosciutto, mortadella, salami, pancetta, and more since 1945, and their products can now be found in some of the finest delis and supermarkets throughout North America and beyond. Criminelli Fine Meats has its roots with the Criminelli family of Biella, Italy, who has been crafting some of the finest cured Italian meats for generations. In 2006, Cristiano Criminelli partnered with American entrepreneurs Chris Bowler and Jared Lynch to bring his family's legacy to the United States. The dry climate of their headquarters in Salt Lake City, Utah, resembles that of Cristiano's native northern Italy and provides the conditions and backdrop for an exciting new chapter. Together, Charcuterie Artisans represents the largest and most state-of-the-art producer of charcuterie in the United States. Our combined manufacturing capabilities allow us to supply major retailers, food service customers, and the finest restaurants with the highest quality Italian-style cured meats available. We are leaders in marketing and brand building and have a history of successful product innovation, pioneering convenient charcuterie snacking formats. With unparalleled quality, born from generations of artisan craftsmanship, we introduced millions of Americans to the exciting flavors of charcuterie. As charcuterie artisans, we will be enriching lives through charcuterie for generations to come, creating a new legacy as we build off the rich history of the Criminelli and Dukovic families and what they have given to our country.
Yum. Delicious. Really awesome. Is that so cool? That's happening in our backyard. So Chris Bowler, the CEO and co-founder of Criminelli, is here with us. Chris has a 20-year career as an entrepreneur in business management and consulting. And Chris co-founded Criminelli back in 2007, ran the business as its CEO for 12 years, and he grew the company to over 40 million in annual revenue. That's a lot of salami. the original base of 0 back in 2007 to 40 million. Incredible results. Following the merger of, I think I might still say this wrong, Daniele.
That's right.
Close. Daniele and Criminelli in 2019, Chris became the president of Charcuterie Artisans, the new name of the joint company. Prior to founding Criminelli, Chris served as the official liaison to the U.S. Olympic Committee and served as a professional economic and business consultant to government entities. Really glad to have Chris here. A little round of applause. We can do a Zoom applause for Chris. Chris is going to give us about a 5-minute overview of his business. Chris, go for it.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I hope I can add to this conversation today. So you heard a little bit the story from Michael in the video. I went to Italy after working on the Olympics a little bit here in Salt Lake. I went to Italy and worked on the Olympics there as the representative of the U.S. Olympic Committee and helping them set up all of their operations. And while there, met Cristiano Criminelli. His family had been dry aging specialty meats for generations, and Cristiano was born into that craft, and but was looking for a new adventure, a new outlet for his skill, and so we hatched the idea of starting artisan charcuterie production in the United States. There had been some of it, but most of it was fairly large scale, industrial scale production. And we had a different vision, which was introducing things like wild boar salami and truffle salami and selling it to places like Dean and DeLuca and Williams Sonoma and Whole Foods and the like. And that's what we did. There was an important moment. So we got Cristiano, we got his product into the USA House, which is the hosting facility in the Olympics. And we remember a moment when we introduced the product to the 3 chefs from New York who were in charge of all the food service for the USA House. And just the look on their face, their jaws dropped, and it was clear they hadn't seen anything like that. They didn't have stuff like access to that in the US. And that was an important moment. So yeah, we grew, absolutely bootstrapped it, took the product to the Fancy Food Show, which is our industry show, got a lot of interest, and yeah, built it little by little. A big break we had is we got some of our product into Starbucks, first for sandwiches, and then our branded trays that you can still find today, our meat and cheese trays. And that was a big jump for us. It gave us a lot of profitability to work with, to kind of move in an additional direction, which is the kind of convenient charcuterie. You saw those trays that are ready for snacking. And so we built that, built slicing operations here for the product. And we're now the fastest growing charcuterie brand in the country. And we have the largest prosciutto SKU in the United States is our 2-ounce prosciutto. It sells sells in a lot of places. It's the largest prosciutto product in the US, which is kind of a cool little feather in our cap and exciting. Obviously, I'm very proud of this brand that we created, and it's that's been great. We just recently we merged, as you saw, with Daniele. They're a much larger producer, state-of-the-art facility, and so we've been trying to figure out how to integrate from Rhode Island to Salt Lake City. A team of 100 and a team of 600 in Rhode Island, how to integrate and how to write this next chapter in these crazy circumstances. And, we've tried to do that by, getting everybody involved in solving the problems, and by setting up crisis teams that help address how do you run a meat plant during a pandemic, which not everybody has succeeded at, as you will have read in the newspaper. So I'll leave it there. Again, just happy to be here.
Thank you, Chris. We're really glad to have you. And I've been such a big fan. I think the one that I like the most, I might say it wrong, is it the tartufo?
That's exactly right.
Is that right?
Yeah, you got it.
Love that stuff. So now that you've had a little bite, a little mouth sensory, how about a full body sensory? Let's take a look at the next video and have a little bit of relaxation. Candace, that's your cue to start that video.
With award-winning designs that are elegantly crafted, classically inspired, simple and clean, there's a Bullfrog spa to fit your style and your life. Make your home better. Escape your cares. And fall in love.
So how many of you are ready to go buy a spa this afternoon after that video? They really, truly are the most beautiful spas in the industry. And we have the distinct pleasure of welcoming the CEO of Bullfrog, Jerry Pasley, is with us this afternoon. Jerry and I have had the opportunity to work together for about a couple of years, putting together a new corporate headquarters and manufacturing facility for Bullfrog. It was the largest build-to-suit that year in Utah, about 70,000 square feet out in Harriman. And we are so happy to have you here. Jerry is 25-year veteran of this industry. The Bullfrog Spa's mission is to create peaceful lives, and peaceful for individuals and families who use and enjoy their spas, their retail partners, and their families who sell their spas, and for their community of employees and stakeholders. The pandemic, which creates great opportunities, also creates immense variables that hinder the realization of those opportunities. And balance is the key perspective, or stewardships is essential for long-term sustainability, which may challenge or even conflict with short-term financial perspectives. To tell us more about that, Jerry Pasley is here to tell us about his company, Bullfrog Spas. Hi, Jerry.
Hi, thanks, Michael. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. The video obviously promotional, so self-promoting going on there, but we're not shy when it comes to that. But the video really tells the story. We're engaged in two things, and the first one, which would be the end result, which is the hot tub. But what we're really up to is creating peaceful lives. And Michael, with that introduction, it's really our mission, and it's what our purpose is, and quite frankly, it's what guides us as we kind of go forward. And so that peaceful we talk about, is that peaceful of the consumer in the backyard. In the video, it displayed a couple ladies there using a hot tub, which would reflect peaceful, or the state in which we would be trying to achieve. And then peaceful for our retailers. We have 750 retailers in 30 countries, as well as distributors all over the world that we, which really represent our channel, as well as Bullfrog has a handful, 15 of our own retail stores that we operate in the Phoenix metro area, Las Vegas, Boise, Idaho Falls, Twin Falls, and then several locations here in the Wasatch Front. So, but we're a manufacturing company, but much more than a manufacturing company. We're a sales and marketing, customer service, distribution, retail operation, and a manufacturing company. And making the move, we moved in April into the new facility in Harriman, Utah. And any of you that's ever moved a manufacturing company knows what kind of a task that is, let alone in the middle of a pandemic. And so that was a fun way to start off, kind of what we would call the COVID journey, or the COVID experience, and really been quite humbling. But peaceful is really at the core of who we are as a company. Peaceful for our employees, and and all of our internal and kind of external partners, whether they're supply chain or insurance agents or suppliers that work with us. And so we're very, very committed to that. And those are supported by our core values of the company. And our core values are care, commitment, and trust. And obviously care and commitment are activity based. They're things that we do. They're intentions, right? It's something that we do intentionally. And then the trust of Bullfrog is something that we have to earn. And that's something that we really hold dear to us. And kind of my last thoughts on this one would be, and these are guided by our core, or what we would call our guiding principles. And those principles are kind of in 4 buckets, which, first one would be like a cultural enablers. And so we believe in, leading with humility and having respect for everyone. And everyone means everyone. So throughout the entire globe in which we connect, or in which we touch. And then the second principle would be that continuous improvement. And so continuous improvement would be things like seeking perfection. Even though perfection isn't attainable, it's still a very worthy pursuit and something that we would go for. And then enterprise alignment would be the third one, and that would be something like constancy of purpose. So making sure that all our employees and all the people that we touch understand the purpose and why we exist today. One of which is to create peaceful lives. And the last one, which would be in kind of the results of the guiding principles, which would be providing value to the consumer, to the end user in which we serve here. So that's just a little bit of an insight in Bullfrog Spas, and thanks for giving me that opportunity, Michael.
Yeah, and what I'm picking up is the companies that are successful today create ripples, and no pun intended. I especially love it in front of your Chinese mural behind you. You've got the water theme there. The building, if you've seen the building that actually was designed by Babcock, it's fun to have Rob here. It's actually got a water motif, kind of a modernized water motif on the front of it. So these ripples that these companies create, the segue for this third company, they do create ripples, but they actually create some dust. So let's watch that third video and check this out. I'm guessing there's no way that your heart is not beating a little faster. And maybe we should have done that in reverse order, Jerry. I'm not sure. Maybe we should have done the bike and then get in the spa, because those guys are definitely going to need to be getting into a hot tub. Today we've got with us Brian Adams. He's the USA Distribution Director and GM for Specialized Bikes. Americans are learning to ride bikes again during the pandemic, if you hadn't noticed. The supply chain is very tight. New bikes are hard to find. In April alone, as the coronavirus raged across the country, sales for bikes and accessories grew to $1 billion, far higher than a typical April, when sales are about half of that at $550 million. Specialized sold 213% more bikes directly to riders this August compared to 2019. And Brian has seen his Salt Lake City distribution center sell through 50% of their inventory in a 30-day span, as he's had to adapt to the explosion of being deemed an essential business in the time of COVID. I am very grateful as a past owner of 4 Specialized bikes in my garage. So thank you, Brian, for being here. Thanks for getting those amazing products out to us. And Brian, tell us a little bit more about Specialized bicycles.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure meeting all of you. So just a brief history of our company. It was founded in 1974 by our current leader, Michael Senior. He basically found a need for high-end bike parts in the United States after he's been living in California, and he sold his VW bus. He went to Europe. He bought a bunch of high-end bike parts, brought them back to the United States, and started selling bike parts, and the company went from there. And now we're over $1 billion company globally. And as you mentioned and talked about right after the video, the virus has been very interesting for us. You know, most of the governments, at least the US government, deemed cycling as an essential industry. When people stopped using Ubers and taxis and subways and basically any type of other public transportation, they needed to get around. So the next thing we know, we're selling bicycles, and we're selling bicycles like crazy. And not only are we selling them like crazy, we're selling them in different ways we've never sold them before. We've had to open up different methods of selling online, direct to consumer, delivery, click and collect. All of these innovations have happened in the last 6 months, and the growth has been incredible. We've done things like we've had to accelerate our growth from a 5-year plan to a 3-year plan. So it's really been a challenging environment. And like most of you, it has been one of the most challenging years of my career, managing the virus, managing the health and safety of our employees, and actually getting the business and keeping the business running. It's been an outstanding effort for the team and everyone here in the USA market. We have 2 warehouses here in the United States. Here just in Salt Lake City, we employ 150 people. And one of those things that happened was we had to double our headcount here in the warehouse in Salt Lake City. We also went to a 7-day operation, which we'd never done before. So it's been a positive experience, but a tough experience for us. So yeah, thank you for everyone for the time.
Thank you, Brian and Chris and Jerry. It's really fun to be with all of you here over the Zoom and to hear your stories. We have a few questions that we wanted to ask. We welcome additional questions. If you have any questions you would like to ask to the panel, please go ahead and type them in the chat, and Candace will be able to see those and address those. But I thought I'd start off first by asking Chris a question. Chris, what are some of the top challenges you've faced during this pandemic, and how have you gone about solving them?
Yeah, I'll talk about the first challenge that we face, and that is trying to keep hundreds of line employees healthy during the outbreak. Rhode Island was one of the first, along with Seattle, one of the first places that it showed up in the United States with outbreaks. And we had a plant with over 600 people operating, and they're fairly tight in together, and it was a challenge. So how do we deal with it? Well, a couple of things. We set up crisis teams right away. We got in really close contact with the Department of Health in Rhode Island and the CDC, and we started recognizing all of the weaknesses in our system that could cause community spread. Ultimately, despite all of those efforts, we did get to the point where we lost over half of our employees. Now, the way it actually happened, and this may be interesting to those of you who've seen the headlines of meat companies closing down through this. What actually happened is there were maybe a couple of dozen who got sick. We're not even sure if there was ever community spread within the factory. We very quickly were able to react to it and figure out how to keep people separated, separating shifts, spreading out our lines, and using masks. We did everything we could think of, but that first wave that came through, it's just so hard to know how it's going to come. And when that first wave came through, we just, out of panic, if you remember, March, April, we really didn't know what happened when you got COVID, how bad it was. And we just had about 60% of our employees just leave. They just stopped showing up. And so we went through a couple of months where we just couldn't fill orders. And so, a lot of it was just, we had to rebuild our entire staff during this period. And we did it by just being very, very aggressive. Ultimately, we got ahead of the problem by being very aggressive with our quarantining. So somebody came in with symptoms, obviously sent them home. Most of the people, there's a lot of people from the Dominican Republic who work in our plant, and live in large homes, homes with large numbers of people. They come to work in groups of 6. Spread in the community outside of work was something we weren't going to be able to stop. But as soon as we found out, we would quarantine anybody who had exposure to them, in the sense that we wouldn't let them back into the plant. And now if you look at the curve, we kind of rose with Rhode Island, and then both of us kind of came back down, and now Rhode Island has spiked back up, but we've maintained it at just 1 or 2 cases, and we've done it by hardcore quarantining of anybody who's potentially exposed. So obviously that's one of many issues, but I thought maybe that was unique to the meat industry, and I'd share that.
Yeah, that's fascinating, and definitely did read those headlines, and it's fun to hear what you did to solve those problems. My next question is for Jerry. Jerry, what do you see as the critical keys to your success? And that could be during the pandemic or just in general. What would be what you consider your critical keys to success?
Yeah, I mean, if I looked over the last 9 years, so 10 years since I bought into Bullfrog and kind of took over the operation, I think first and foremost is what we talked about in the very beginning, right? Which is that critical definition of what your mission is, what your purpose, and why you're here, and then you transition into the business model. And for us, it's a Bullfrog business system that is a very balanced approach. So it's balanced in the sense that we go for objectives that are financial, so financial perspectives, but we also, like all of you do, we also have a consumer perspective, and we keep those very much balanced. So we don't necessarily go after one or go after the other. We go after them both. But we know that shareholder value, as an example, is not something that we do. It's something that we end up with, right? And so we focus on your cost structures, utilizing the assets that you currently have. So that's productivity, and then we focus on the growth side of our business, which is our sales and our marketing activity with our channel and with our retail stores. And then we spend time. So when I say balance, we have 4 areas of balance. So one is a financial perspective or stewardship. 2 is the customer, so the value proposition that we offer to the customer, so the customer stewardship. And then from that, we would call below the line, which is where the activity is based, which is our internal processes. And those are where we bring where we build value, so develop, implement to serve those 2 objectives of customers and also those financial metrics. And then the last one would be in the learning and growth side of our business, which is our people. So we spend most of our energy in developing skills, capabilities, right, which expands the individual's capacity, departmental capacities, and ultimately the plant's capacity to perform, meaning meet the customer need. Throughput would be the result of those type of activities. And then also learning and growth for us would be focusing on our infrastructure. So maybe facilities, maybe databases, software packages, ERP systems, those type of activities. And then the last one would be focusing on what we would call our organizational capital or our culture. So make sure that we're staying in balance, and this has been really critical for us. So staying in balance with our culture, our leadership, so teamwork, alignment, making sure we have constancy of purpose. And these have served us very well through this COVID. I'd echo everything Chris said, in terms of managing and the fear, right? And people are scared. And the first few cases you get in your plant, even though they may not be spread within the community, created a massive amount of fear. But this balanced perspective really allowed us to, this perspective really allowed us to move with the pace in which we can move. We have a demand that is far exceeded anything we've ever seen. We typically run a 10 to a 20-day lead time on hot tubs, and right now we're running about 150 to 170-day lead time. And so it's really a very, very difficult challenge to ramp a manufacturing company at our size to grow 67% in 1 year. And so it's, but the balance, this balanced scorecard or strategy map in which we refer to, has served us very well. And it's also, this crisis also has kind of opened the kimono and show you where the areas are weak. We didn't build skills and capabilities fast enough, but today we're on track with making sure we do that, because 2021 is going to be a massive year in terms of revenue growth. But then we're going to have to figure out how to normalize our manufacturing plant back down to a normal level come 2022. That's extremely hard to go, from 350 people to 600 people and then try to normalize back into a 300 or 400 people in a plant. So interesting times, but
dynamic. Dynamic as well. I mean, what I got from that, I'm just going to tag in, Jer, is it seems like you're always learning. You're always pushing your people to learn in new ways, technology, and just making themselves better. I thought it was interesting you mentioned culture as your last point there. And I remember Win Clayton, who's on the call, the CEO of 3Form, culture was so important. He felt like that the company came from bootstrap kind of company. And the philosophy always was, hey, we're going to figure this out. We may not have all the resources some of the bigger companies have at that time, but we're going to figure it out. And he thought that was really critical in his approach to real estate. I guess quick follow-up, Jerry, how has the new facility changed culture? Has it added to culture? Has it actually diminished culture that you had before? I mean, what's that been like to get all those people into that new building?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the move was very untimely, but then it was also timely. So, that's the interesting thing about, this crisis is it's created opportunity, and then it's created, right, all of the challenges come with the crisis, and you don't get one without the other. So they're kind of a package. But the new facility, quite frankly, allowed us to spread out. Like, there's no way in our current Bluffdale facility, which is a little small manufacturing distribution facility now for us, we would have never been able to bring in the number of people that we have there today. So Harriman's actually allowed us to spread out, create that social distancing, provide that kind of peace of mind, that safety for the employee. We haven't been able to benefit from Rob's beautiful design and the group that built it. We haven't been able to benefit, from everything that we put in there, which was for our employees, but we're learning. We've got a lot of people working from home, working remotely where they can. We have a wonderful fitness facility built in there that we don't use right now, but we want to use, and we're getting close to where we feel like we can manage that and not create some spread or create some problems there. But overall, it's been an amazing move for us, and a move that we needed, and it quite frankly been a blessing during this crisis. We would be in big trouble if we were trying to manufacture out of our a little 100,000 square foot facility in Bluffdale. We would be in trouble. We would be a year and a half behind in orders if that was the case. Then consumers fall off, and they're going to buy bicycles if they can get them, right? So it's tough.
There's a lot more people having peaceful lives because of that building. So that's good. Jer, back to you. I think you got a question teed up for Chris.
Actually, I've got a question teed up for Brian.
Brian, yeah. Don't want to skip the bikes. I just want to think about bikes the rest of the afternoon. Let's go for a mountain bike.
Yeah. So Brian, this next question is for you. And, you talked about just the crazy growth and all the change that you've had to do. What specific changes have you had to make during COVID, and which ones may have made you more efficient or stronger and might even be used post-COVID?
Well, the one thing that's really impacted us has been e-com. Our e-com we were trending about 3% of our units, about 40% of our deliveries were e-com prior to the outbreak, and now we're looking at about 9 to 10% of our units, and 60+% of our deliveries are now e-com orders. So both warehouses, we had to totally institute a way of doing nothing but e-com. So we had to develop e-com processing areas within the warehouses. We had to retrain experts to do specifically that operation. It grew to the point that we had to separate it out from the rest of everything that we do as far as supporting our retailers because of the growth that's been there. The other thing that we've done is we've done click and collect and home delivery. for bikes. So with bikes, the customer can go on our specialized.com website and order a bike, have it delivered to their nearest shop and assembled, and then pick it up from the shop. We've also done some pilot programs on actually sending that bike to the shop, and the shop delivers it directly to their home. And we've piloted that in a few markets across the country, and that's going to expand and continue to grow because it's been very successful. So those are three things that we've changed in the last 6 months that are going to continue from here on out. We don't think those habits are going to change.
That's very interesting. You're thinking about just the labor component involved in completing the bike. You're shipping it in a small package you can get it in, and then you need that retailer, and you also need a drop-off pickup spot. That's a really unique and, I think, great way of doing business. You see a lot of e-commerce trying to figure that out. Congratulations on a cool success.
Brian, so Tom Adams, in addition to wanting to pick up a bike from you, Tom, it sounds like it's just a click away, my brother. Just click on your mouse. But he would like to know. He would like to know what do you predict for bike sales after the vaccine comes out and we're not feeling as cooped up, maybe?
Well, there's a couple things. So first of all, to answer Tom's question on the chat there, we don't expect to be back to normal levels of inventory until April, May of next year. We have thousands of bikes on back order for our dealers, and it's really feast or famine right now in our warehouses across the country, and not just across the country, but globally. Because when a lot of the global markets opened up, they came back, made back what they lost, and then doubled it when the markets opened up. As far as where are we going when the vaccine is released and people return back to their normal lives, I think there's a lot of people out there that have gotten the disease, and I'm not talking about COVID. I'm talking about riding a bicycle. It takes, typically we talk about it takes 6 to 10 weeks to change a habit. Well, we've been doing this for 8 months. And there's a lot of people out there whose habits have changed. They have rediscovered the bicycle. They ride regularly, and next year they're going to be looking to upgrade that $500 bike they bought this year to a $1,500 bike. And they're going to understand that freedom and what that brings to them from a mental state and from an exercise and just really enjoying what they do, it's going to continue. So my crystal ball prediction is about 50% of those people that bought bikes during this pandemic because they had to for transportation or exercise or what have you, are going to continue to be an enthusiast and actually turn into an enthusiast. And they're going to end up with a garage that looks like mine that has 14 bikes in it.
I hear your pain on that. A follow-up question too from Melanie Robinson with Web AV. Melanie would like to know if you have a sense, have the demographics of who's buying bikes shifted? Is it a older crowd, or do you have a sense of who's buying your bikes now versus last year?
It's really all over. So we sold out of our low-end bikes. So let's say your $300 to $1,500 range. Those were the first things that we sold out of. What we've seen since then is our e-bike market has exploded. So some of the older, more affluent customers that are out there have discovered what an e-bike can do for them. Maybe they have had a knee injury, or maybe they thought that they were too old to get a bike on the trail, and they go and test ride an e-bike and they're like, oh my God, I can do this again. So we've seen an uptick in across the full demographic of everything that we sell because of some of the things that we've changed and what technology has brought to the forefront to allow people that thought they could no longer ride a bicycle can now ride a bicycle and really enjoy that like they were, in their teens and 20s. Now we have people, I have friends that I ride with that has, two knee replacements, and he's in his 80s, and he's still out there riding his e-bike as many days as he can every day, every week. So it's really opened up a realm of possibility for many people that thought they could no longer do it anymore.
Yeah, that's awesome. I have seen that in my own neighborhood, my own circles, people of all different demographics buying bikes and riding them, and the e-bikes especially. I want to bounce a question back to Chris. Chris, what lessons have you learned about leadership this year, and anything you might carry forward out of this pandemic?
Yeah, a few things come to mind, and some of them are maybe things I already knew and believed, but that were reinforced. And the first one I'll share is in that category. I have always believed that the first and most important way to build culture in a company is by developing a vision, very specific, very shareable, that you're regular sharing with everybody. You're breaking it down into strategies, and you are showing everybody their part in achieving the vision and the mission that you've created. So everybody knows how they're plugged into the big vision and they're excited about it. I think what we've seen with COVID is that, people, especially with remote work, people need a purpose. They need to be engaged, and the statistics are very clear. Like, people working remotely are less engaged and less motivated, particularly when it's not voluntary. That's been something we've tried to do, is get everybody engaged in the solutions to the problems that have popped up. And that's one of the features of COVID, is everything is new. Just meeting somebody on the street, we have to do it in a way that we're just not used to. That's no longer automatic. So plenty of problems to solve. Getting everybody engaged in solving those problems has been helpful to them, and obviously helpful to us as we've tried to innovate and find new solutions. Another one, there's an HBR article about the Stockdale paradox and how it applies to COVID and crisis management during COVID. And really, early on when we were saying, oh man, this is going to be a brutal month, dealing with COVID. And then at some point we realized, okay, this is going to go on for a long time. I think realizing early on that this was going to be with us for a long time, and that we needed to, what's called in the article, radical acceptance. We needed radical acceptance of what was happening. So Stockdale, of course, was the admiral in the Navy who was a POW in World War II, and he was asked who survived and who didn't. And he said the optimists were the first ones to go, because they would say, oh, for sure, we'll be out by Christmas. And when they weren't, they would die of a broken heart. And so the people who survived were the ones who accepted the full reality of what they were dealing with, but kept hope and faith that there was going to be a good outcome whenever that was. And so I think that's been a big part of it as well, is just fully accepting our reality, and so being willing to adapt and find new purpose, new approaches that were going to work. And then the last one I'll share quickly. I think it's a tough time emotionally for just about everybody in some way, and maybe it comes in waves. But I think one of the things that we've learned in leadership is, creating flexibility. We've gone to Mondays and Fridays being flex days. We've kind of put away the traditional, 40-hour work week or 5-day work week, and really been flexible to people's schedules. People have childcare issues, they have lots of things going on right now. And I ultimately believe that people have a good solid 10 hours of work every week if you're in a job like mine, and the rest is just fill in. And so making people feel, taking stress level off has been really helppful. And then just standing up in front of everybody and just recognizing that, we're all struggling in some way to adapt, to deal, and that's okay. I think hearing that maybe from the top has put people at ease, and because it's the truth. It's tough. Even on the good days, it's a little bit harder than it used to be.
Yeah, it really is. And it's interesting to hear, vision and purpose. I heard some of that echoed with what Jerry was saying, and but creating flexibility and acknowledging the struggle, just acknowledging we are all struggling. Jerry, would you like to tag on to that in terms of, what changes you've had to make there at Bullfrog, and what they might have done, and how you're working with your team to see the vision and acknowledge the struggle?
Sorry, Jeremy, can you repeat it one more time? You broke up, and I don't know if it's on my end or not. So
no worries. I was just going to ask if you could tag on to the comments that he just made about the vision and the struggle, but also, how that might apply to how you've changed things there at Bullfrog, and how that might help you be stronger coming out of this.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that, this crisis has confirmed, right, is the role of the people, in your business. And, and it's one of the times where, I don't think, there's a person on this call or anyone that's, involved in business right now that doesn't understand, the kind of the need, the pain, that our employees and friends and others are going through. And so, adapting to that, which, I heard Chris say, flex hours or being flexible with people. We're constantly reminding people, if you don't feel good, don't come in. If you don't want to come in, don't come in, just let us know. Right. And that last one is quite an unusual message, and not typical, not something typical you would hear from Bullfrog in the past, is if you don't feel like coming in, don't come in. But we know, that people are struggling, but we know coming out this other end is we've adapted and put more energy and more focus. So more energy and more focus on the people, which is more energy and more focus on your culture. That it will increase our capabilities into the future, well into the future. So, we're going to come out of this crisis. We're going to come out of this crisis wounded, but better, I don't think there's any path. Again, I don't think in this crisis, from my perspective, is no one's coming out, unscathed. We have a great opportunity ahead of us. We have I heard, I don't know if it was, I'm not sure who said it, but we had a 5-year plan, that we're going to achieve in about a year and a half. But then it's going to be very difficult when all of that dust settles, and then we try to scale. Fortunately, a lot of what the COVID opportunity and the crisis is wrapped around people and requires people, and hasn't required. We already made our major investments in equipment and infrastructure when we built the new building. So we built capacity for many years out, and so we've been able to utilize that. So hasn't required a great number of kind of capital investments in the business to handle this surge in demand, which will allow us to scale by either through attrition and everything else going on in this valley. It's a very difficult valley right now to hire in, and hire in these kind of entry level jobs. It's very competitive. You've heard, I think Chris was talking about how many more people they've hired, and that might have been Brian, but we, like us, we've hired 200 people since May and plan on hiring 220 more by the end of December. So very tough market to hire in right now. So.
Well, we've got just a few minutes left, and I think it would be fun. One of the main purposes that you all come to this in the past is because there's a social activity of getting together, whether we're going up to High West to sample some whiskey or going for a bike ride or whatever those events are. I would like to just open it up. So mic's off, could be total chaos, but anybody have additional thoughts or questions? I'd love to hear from the group, and whoever speaks the loudest will get the platform. Okay, it's about your last chance here. Anybody have any comments or questions that they want to make? Okay, well, I see your mic going off. Go for it.
All I'd say is those three guys did a perfect job. Like absolutely everything they said. That's why nobody's speaking up probably. Nice job, guys.
Good stuff. Well, I know that you probably are hungry for some Creminelli products and want to go get a bike. Because of that, I think we have one little sleeper swag bag that we could probably draw for just for your attendance and patience in the call and being with us today. We really care about all of you. Those of you who have been our clients, for us, it's a very fortunate pleasure to serve you. For those of you who have not, we look forward to an opportunity to connect in that way or whatever resource that we can provide. We like you want to give back to our community and make things better. So we appreciate all of you. This ELA group is a powerful ripple generator, and it's because of people like you and the teams that you create. Let's draw a swag bag winner, CK.
I'm working on it. I actually think Eric Bauman might have been on with his cell phone, so he might have gotten a basket.
Got to be present to win.
I think he was on. He was
Got
on
to
this
be
morning.
present when the name's drawn.
I think he was. He was on his cell phone. Eric, are you there?
Eric Swenson, is it Eric Swenson?
No, that's Eric Bauman when we drew
Eric Bauman.
earlier.
You drew his name
this one
again?
no, we got Kurt Crowther.
Kurt Crowther with Serta Mattress. How about a round for Kurt Crowther? In
He's
the
always
dark.
on his
It's a
phone.
little dark. You need a flashlight. Could you give us the little flashlight ghoul effect there, Kurt? All right, guys. That was really great. We do have, will you throw up the photo? We have a little gift for our presenters. Thanks for your time. Will you throw up our little
Yep.
our little photo of what we like to give out? So this is to hopefully entice a few more folks to be a presenter. This is some baskets that Tammy put together and delivered yesterday. I am hoping there's some Criminelli meat in there. I don't know if there's Criminelli product, but
We usually always do that.
Little is not the word I would use to describe them. It was an impressive basket. No Criminelli. There's room for improvement, but it was,
we'll have to step that up. You hire us, and we'll use Criminelli forever. All right. Anyway, thanks everybody. Jeremy, did you want to say a last few comments? We've still got a couple minutes, so go for it.
No, I was just gonna say, I feel like our next ELA should be post-pandemic. It should start with charcuterie. It should have a bike ride in it and some hot tub, and maybe if Kurt wants to throw in some place to sleep on a mattress, I just think we could have a great time together.
We still need the
This
whiskey.
is Ron Figueroa.
Yeah, go for it, Ron.
Ron Figueroa, count me in.
You're in.
Yeah.
Hey, for those of you who don't have your cameras on, will you just turn on your camera so we know that you're not naked at home?
And I think we just heard we could also throw some rock climbing in while we're at it.
I'm still hoping to get Paul Hudson out for a bike ride. Paul, turn your camera on. Are you still there? Oh, there's Hadley. Hey, Hadley, welcome to the group. Paul, you're in the dark. You're at home. Good to see you, buddy. Glad you could join. Anybody else want to turn on their camera before we say goodbye? All right, everybody.
Everybody's face.
Thank you so much for being here. Chris Bowler, Jerry Pasley, and Brian Adams. Thanks so much for the panel. Round of applause for our guest panelists and for everybody. Way to go. Thanks for all you do, everybody. This will be available on our website. We will send you a link to this content. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Mike.
Bye-bye.